Peter works in his broadcasting tower, relaying messages to a public that no longer exists. A disparity occurs between his designated programming and his learned identity. Fraught by freak weather, Peter's code takes damage along with his charging station. He must venture to the closest neighboring tower for replacement parts through hostile desert terrain. With little battery to spare, he arrives to find the tower in disrepair and the tower's stationed robot dead. Finally shocked to separation from his code, Peter decides for himself that his mission does not require him to persist.
Public transmitting android designated Unit 783624R4, also known as Peter, was introduced to the world for the purpose of creating and maintaining media broadcast to his local capital human city. He lives alone in radio transmitting tower 697, located 525.5 kilometers outside New Orleans. PTA exists in the year of 2905 after the world has been taken over by sprawling sand dunes and the human population has ceased to exist. He is 7 feet tall and coated in shades of shiny metallic white. The paint is now dull with signs of wear. He is designed to be similar to a human, yet more robust and able to withstand any challenges that living in such harsh conditions may throw at him. Ever since the Great War of 2658, 70% of Earth has become uninhabitable. It is too difficult to traverse the barren planet, so androids have become commonplace to limit humans traveling for maintenance. The PT androids were introduced to the world in 2640. They were each given their own broadcasting tower and were placed equidistantly across the globe. Alone in his broadcasting tower, aside from a few cockroaches, he completes his job while entertaining himself with the media he broadcasts. Over the years, he has developed his own personality via adapting dialogue and mannerisms from said media, such as going to bed at night to recharge, even though his battery should last him a full 3 days. Over centuries of operations, he has taken on his own identity and has become somewhat self-aware.
Peter is a robot who displays a lot of human emotions and traits. The initial hook for the audience is seeing him dancing to human music and watching human entertainment that he broadcasts. This is something that many people can relate to, singing in their room and watching TV for hours on end. When Peter's broadcast tower gets struck by lightning and all of the electronics in it get fried, including both the tools needed to fix it and his charger, he is forced to leave his home. Journeying to the broadcast tower closest to his own, he slowly learns to forego his programming and think for himself, drawing audiences towards him. His situation is dire and the audience roots for him as he makes his own decisions for the first time.
Peter's initial goal is to fulfill his programming. Despite surviving the fall of humanity, he has no reason to stop working as it was never written into his programming. When Peter's communication tower is damaged, his goal evolves into survival to fulfill his programming. The only way he can continue to do the work he was created for is by leaving his home for the first time to embark on a dangerous trek to the nearest tower. Peter chooses survival, which is the first human instinct he has. At the other comms tower, Peter is confronted with the dead body of another PTA model that has been powered down for decades. He is forced to reconsider his purpose. Seeing the broken body of his brethren triggers an almost emotional response. Although he had known for a long time that no one was receiving his transmissions, he must now directly face this reality. Knowing now that the life he was programmed for has become redundant, Peter chooses not to repair his parts and allows his battery to run out, ultimately not achieving his goal.
Since Peter is a robot manufactured for a singular specific purpose, this creates a great deal of internal conflict for his character. He is programmed to only transmit media from his tower, so when the tower is damaged, not only must he come to terms with the fact that he can no longer fulfill his programming, but also attempt to go against it by venturing outside for the first time in search of a new tower. This journey brings about several external obstacles, including his battery charge, which lasts him 3 days, and a violent sandstorm that incapacitates him for 2 of those days. Upon reaching the tower and discovering his counterpart there has long since died, his loyalty to his programming is tested once again, forcing him to choose between continuing to transmit to a non-existent audience or let his battery run out and end his ultimately futile existence.
Peter has been gradually separating his identity from his predestined purpose, learning about his own interests, faults, and idiosyncrasies around his micromanaging programming. The friction between his single-minded dedication to a role wherein he is no longer required and his growing and discordant database of music, celebrity and pop culture news, emergency procedure and war propaganda announcements have been slowly but surely humanizing him, in a time and place where that also is no longer required. Finding a niche of acceptable overlap between what he was supposed to be and what he became instead, in a setting where neither hold any real bearing and there is nobody around to give him any easy answers or approval either way, Peter must realize for himself what counts as fulfilling work, and decide when he is fulfilled enough to stop. Feelings of isolation and alienation that surface around becoming railroaded to a specific purpose or goal, leashed to a job, a rank, a role, especially within a broader system that doesn't notice its contributors, is easily relatable to a wider audience. Peter's story is about making up one's mind on what they choose to care about and contribute to, picking up new things, putting down old ones, and eventually becoming satisfied enough to let go altogether.